Good evening from Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. And what day is it? It's Friday, and you know what that means. It means it's time for the weekend preview. We're talking SmackDown, we're talking Collision. It's going to be a lot of fun. But before we talk all about that, we firstly need to address the huge elephant in the room, and that was last night, yesterday morning, whatever you want to call it, Wrestle Kingdom 18. Of course, yesterday we didn't get a chance to talk about that on the show, but it absolutely was an exceptional show. I believe the full review is going to be out, I think, today on WrestlingRepublic.com. Me and Kobe were both watching it live. Shout out to Kobe, actually, the head of reviewing, for staying up until 6 a.m. watching it with me and David. It was a lot of fun. Kobe, it certainly was. But yeah, I mean, the biggest highlight of the night, I think, for a lot of people, including myself, was Bryan Danielson taking on Kazuchika Okada for the second time in a match which was significantly better than their first. I think everybody agrees with that. The one thing which I'm going to be honest about it, it didn't quite get 5 stars on our system, but it was very, very close. The ending kind of seemed, dare I say, a bit sudden. It didn't feel like that was going to be the ending, but it was a really, really fun match, and they're 1-1 now. Why do I feel like they're going to run it back? Maybe in Wembley Stadium even, because of course, they've done one in North America, they've done one in Japan. Well, how about let's do one in Europe on neutral turf and settle the score? That match I would be certainly down to see. But of course, if you guys have been watching us for a long time now, you guys will know about the show we used to do called Lions of the Republic, the New Japan podcast, where every week both Suki, shout out to Suki by the way, and Ben Wagner would discuss all things New Japan. Well, Ben Wagner has very kindly sent in a video for us to play, giving his thoughts on yesterday's Wrestle Kingdom 18 event. So let's hear it.
Hey everyone, I'm back and I'm giving you my thoughts for today's show live right here on the daily broadcast. It's so lovely to be back, and I'm really grateful that they've invited me back for today's broadcast. So my thoughts on today's show: an absolute return to form after, it's fair to say, a rough few months for NJPW. I was really impressed with the quality of the matches throughout, and some real highlightable moments and some incredible pops as well. A massive shout out to the Tokyo Dome audience, who really elevated the entire show with their enthusiasm, as they always do. It really did feel like a return to the NJPW of old. Match of the night was Hiromu versus Desperado, but that's just because I love Hiromu versus Desperado. And moment of the night was probably Will Ospreay's entrance. Check out my article on the website for more.
Absolutely. Make sure you guys go check out his article on WrestlingRepublic.com. It's not out quite yet, but it'll be up very, very soon indeed. We're just getting all of those things sorted out and posted. But yeah, I agree with Ben. I thought it was, truly a return to form for New Japan Pro Wrestling. I was very excited. I thoroughly enjoyed the event. I'm not sure it's going to be a show of the year contender, but a great way to start off the year indeed. And of course, Tetsuya Naito, the new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, after, defeating Sanada, and he finally got his roll call. He finally managed to, win that championship in front of fans who could chant his name at Wrestle Kingdom. It's an absolutely exceptional moment for Naito. Congratulations to him. And yeah, new era in New Japan, it seems. And, well, today it was teased we're getting Danielson versus Sabre Jr. in a submission match, Moxley versus Shingo in a no DQ match, and also the United Empire versus Bullet Club War Dogs in a 5-on-5 cage match. So a lot to look forward to over in Japan. But that's enough about Japan today, because we can talk about it a lot more, and I'm sure at a later date we will. But without further ado, let's get on to the weekend preview. And for a weekend preview, I need a great crew with me. And let's kick things off with a co-host of the show, Clark Taylor. Clark, how are you?
Dude, I'm doing so well. I was fired up to see Ben Wagner back on my screen on the Wrestling Republic channel. It was awesome. Little known fact, actually, Ben, huge fan of his work and how great he is. He was under the weather during the time the Lions of the Republic podcast was firing on all cylinders and at its absolute finest. And I ended up filling in the very first show I ever co-hosted on this network. I was a guest on Take It to the Table to start. On this channel, though, was the Lions of the Republic with Suki. Ben Wagner is the man, and I really appreciate what he said about Wrestle Kingdom and everything. Talk about a guy whose opinion you can trust. Go read that article, everybody, if you haven't yet. More importantly, or less importantly, depending on how you look at it, we are going to break down SmackDown and AEW Collision today, and I'm fired up about that. Happy Friday, everybody. I'm just stoked to be here.
Absolutely. Happy Friday. Indeed. We're getting to the end of the first week of 2024. Time is flying by. Please, let's just have it slow down and take a breather. It's news story after news story. And another New Japan news story is what Bobby Petito was saying in the comments. Matt Riddle showed up and challenged Hiroshi Tanahashi, the new New Japan president, who obviously booked himself to beat Zack Sabre Jr. Oh, I think Hiroshi Tanahashi might be in cahoots with Adam Copeland. I'd be careful about him, guys. But also joining us today, it's the other guy who stayed up and watched, well, I guess woke up early and watched Wrestle Kingdom with me, Kobe, and David, and that... No, it's not. I don't know. That's maybe the biggest whiff I've had in the entire history of the podcast.
Okay.
I'm filming Take It to the Table after this show today, right? For some reason, I thought Saul was on this show. He's not on this show, but do you know who is on this show? It is the man who, you know, he's known by different names. To us, he is known by Carter Crisp. Carter, how are you today? And how is Carty Carnett? Is he still locked up behind those bars?
I am good, Ben. Carty Carnett, he's working on a business, but I think he's working on it from prison. So I'll keep you guys tuned. I just got out of jiu-jitsu. I'm doing good. Ben, you might have been confused. I'm good for one Japanese event a week. I watched Ryzen on Saturday. It was fantastic. It wasn't wrestling, but I was exhausted after. And also, I'm rocking my boy Jack Cartwheel. Was very nice to meet my girl when we met him. And great indie wrestler, fantastic in AAA. Shout out to him. And yeah, excited to be here. It's all right, Ben. I should have been there. I was just a little tired.
You should have. What was your excuse? Kobe stayed up until 6 a.m.
He just got back from Vegas.
I have
the ultimate excuse.
No, I have a fantastic excuse. I'm from the all Japan. I'm all Japan over New Japan. I'm with the four pillars, Ben. Misawa. No, New Japan's great too. I mean, I kind of prefer the Wrestle Universe promotions, but it's all good. You know, I'm not like Carty Cornette. I don't say some wrestling's bad. I love it all.
Absolutely, I'm completely with you, and I love All Japan too. I need to check out their show, of course, from yesterday, I believe it was, where Charlie not yesterday, day before yesterday, January 3rd, where Charlie Dempsey competed. I need to see that, of course, NXT star. But last but certainly not least, it is the man who is on this YouTube channel every week giving his thoughts on NXT. He, again, goes by many different names, but we'll call him the Tuesday Night Delight right now. Shad, how are you doing?
Throw them twos up. I'm good, Ben. I did not watch Wrestle Kingdom because the two competitors that had this classic match, Mr. Brian Danielson, whatever he goes by nowadays, and Okada, they are less superior as a wrestler than Tiffany Stratton. So in respect of her, I'm not watching jobbers, but I'm doing great, man. Good to be with y'all. Let's talk wrestling.
Daniel Bryanson is comedic gold, by the way. I'm stashing that one and saving it for myself. I hope you don't mind. I will credit you when I use that line in the future. But Daniel Bryanson got me pretty good.
Oh, I wish we could talk about Daniel Bryanson today, but unfortunately that's not on the topic list. But you guys know what
Danny
is on the
Bryan.
topic list. Danny Bryan, Dan Bry, DB,
Dan
whatever you want to
Bryanson.
call him. Yeah, there we are. Right. But today, and it's spelled with an IA as well, not a YA.
Yes.
But anyway, let's talk about the big speculation, because you guys know the internet wrestling community, they love to speculate. And TNA have been advertising, this big new signing that they've got where worlds will collide. And some people are speculating on the interweb right now that perhaps it is not a person. Perhaps the signing is a deal, a partnership deal between WWE and TNA. Of course, we saw Endeavor do the same thing with UFC. When they took over there, they came in and they said, okay, Fight Pass, let's start bringing in some smaller promotions and putting them on there too. Let's showcase them. Let's help them with production costs and all of that. Maybe give some, talent over as commentators and stuff like that. And then they can be a feeder promotion for us, along with giving us a little bit of content as well. Could that be the deal they're doing with WWE now? We know this week has come out that WWE have basically, gotten rid of the vast majority of their marketing team and instead have joined it up with TKO. I've joined up with UFC's as part of an overall TKO one, so they can get the same sponsorships, they can do all of that. But that team, the team which of course UFC previously had, their marketing team, the ones behind those sponsorships, they were also the ones behind getting those Fight Pass deals, right? So this is now the same team in charge of WWE who did that over at UFC for Fight Pass. So, I guess it's possible. Clark, you followed Ari Emanuel for a long time. Do you think this is possibly the direction we're heading in? And if so, would TNA make sense?
Not just Ari Emanuel, but Endeavor and then the UFC as well. Even pre-Ari Emanuel, Dana White and the UFC were absorbing promotions. Strike Force, you go back and look at Elite XC, promotions like that, and taking out competition, for lack of a better term, in that way, making it obvious through a business deal that our top end product is more important while this can still operate. I think it's funny, there's a disconnect, and I'm not even trying to bring up a separate subject, but on this AEW acquiring ROH thing, that we would appear that ROH, we would assume that ROH would be an equal. That's not what happens when you have an acquisition like that. It is going to be a minor league by comparison. It will never be the same as it was when it was ran as a challenger brand, as a competitor. Unfortunately, the fact that it's saved is great in my eyes personally. TNA being acquired by Endeavor would be as detrimental in my eyes. And that's something we haven't thought about. For the short term, the matchups as wrestling fans, of course, are outstanding between TNA and WWE superstars, having TNA potentially on Peacock, having TNA potentially under a sister streaming deal with WWE, almost as a bit of a feeder system, a la ECW in the late 90s. Like we saw with Paul Heyman, it's great. But we all also saw exactly what happened to ECW. And that is my fear for TNA. The fact that TNA was rebranded from Impact to TNA, I thought was smart and created a lot of momentum. To me, though, it's on the tea leaves. The writing's on the wall. It is. I'm reading the tea leaves and the writing's on the wall. If Endeavor does come in and purchase them, this is not the same TNA we were seeing before. This is not a brand that can potentially compete with AEW or WWE down the line. While they can't right this second, for nostalgia's sake, they can, because there's great wrestlers, there's great talent. We just saw Deonna Purrazzo go to AEW. And just to me, if it is TNA, that's great. But we can't sit here and also expect TNA to be what it has been as Impact or even as TNA since they rebranded just a few months ago. And that's my only thing that I have that just, it scares me a bit, because I like the idea of TNA being a third choice, especially in the States.
I'm going to say something which a lot of people don't want to hear, but I'm going to say it anyway. TNA, I just don't think there's room for it in the wrestling landscape. I don't think at the minute, with how much content both WWE and AEW are, putting out, I don't think there's room for TNA to, become in any way competitive against
No.
WWE or
Sustainable,
AEW.
I think, is
Either
a
one.
possibility.
Yeah,
Direct
sustainable is, I
competition,
think,
no, but
possible.
sustainable, I do think is possible. Just to be clear, because I agree with you. I
Yeah.
don't think there'll ever be direct competition, but chasing, I think, right? TNA was not direct competition to WWE, even when they were going head to head with when they put Impact on Monday nights and whatnot. But the idea of it was fun. And there's a difference between the way that was structured and the way AEW has been structured. I don't want to keep making that comparison, but
yeah, of course.
But TNA was just in a different position then. But at the same time, they were sustainable and it made it feel like a bigger deal. You can be, you know what I mean, to be and function strongly, chasing, I think, the top guys. If you do this deal, it will never be bigger than what it's been.
It's true. That's undoubtedly true, but the question is, if the aim is to be sustainable, then surely, I mean, it might be a smart move to have, them come under WWE slightly. And we know, Strikeforce is a perfect example of it right in the MMA world. That's one of the many promotions which are on Fight Pass. They still do their own thing, but they just feed talent through at times. They're not, they're not properly run by the UFC. It's their own people doing their own thing, but it's under the UFC banner, technically, under the UFC Fight Pass banner. So
you also
maybe
gotta
if they
think
just
about
want to
it
be
this way, though.
sustainable, that's a easy way.
Sustainability, though, Strikeforce complete. I mean, you do have to remember, we had main events with Fedor Emelianenko and Ronda Rousey and Daniel Cormier and, I mean, Hall of Fame Fabricio Verdum. Kimbo Slice was on Strikeforce, right? Nick Diaz main evented Strikeforce multiple times. We had like legit names at the time that Strikeforce was. And so there are a lot of parallels. Strikeforce is the perfect example, right? And like you mentioned, while it's still operating and sustainable, no star is going, I might sign with Strikeforce. It's PFL or the UFC at this point. And so it's a step backward for increased sustainability. But if you're shooting higher than that, I do think there is room.
But is there any room? Is there room? I don't think there is.
I don't think there's room to make a true pass. I think there's room to be completely, profitable on top of a place for talent to really go and be really good as an alternative that still has a television deal, right? Or even close, not necessarily a television deal anymore, but right, you can still access it much easier than just you're going to the minor league section of whatever platform you're on.
It's true. No, it's a good point. It is, Clark, and I think they could still do that. I think maybe it'd just be like the specials would maybe be on the network.
Yeah,
something like that, where maybe it's a partnership, it's a loose partnership where it clearly makes, it's blatant that WWE is the top dog, but it's still beneficial for TNA and they can do their own thing, especially with maybe some of the older wrestlers, right? Who WWE aren't interested in, because again, like they want young stars, they can market them for longer, and the young stars which Impact has or TNA has, they can then poach those or whatever, but the older ones who are, killing it in TNA, Eric Young, for example, they can just carry on doing their own thing there in TNA fantastically, and maybe some of WWE's older stars who aren't really doing anything can go there too. I mean, I think there's a lot of potential to do a lot of fun things there, which isn't necessarily what WWE want to do, but it would still benefit WWE by having a partnership with them and being linked to it. So I think it would make a lot of sense. But we have gone on a bit now. I want to give quickly, I want to give Shad and Carter a minute to give their thoughts. What are your thoughts, Shad?
I mean, historically, we haven't seen WWE work with other promotions in a while. Obviously, we know the whole pipeline that they had with OVW back in the day and whatnot. But if I was to say there was an opportunity for it, it may be now, just off of the fact that, like you mentioned, it's under a new banner with TKO, and they have just done, like you said earlier today, work with All Japan, having Charlie Dempsey go over there. So what I think could possibly happen, and it might be far fetched, it may not happen, but it seems like WWE is tapping into the international market. We're seeing them do a lot of PLEs across the globe. They're going global nowadays. They've had huge success over there. Why not continue working with Japan but why not work with Stardom, right? We
Ooh.
look at the main roster. They have Io Shirai, Io Sky, who is arguably the GOAT in Stardom. They have Asuka. They have Kairi Sane, who just came back from there. I think it'd be a good opportunity to go tap into the Japanese market and work with a promotion like Stardom. And let's keep it in the same banner as NXT. NXT has a very fruitful women's division. It's a good opportunity for them to work with other competitors, build notoriety outside the United States, and potentially bring in stars that could maybe one day come into the WWE from Japan. So if I was to see a promotion work with WWE, I think it might be Stardom.
I'd love that. I absolutely would. The only issue with that idea is, of course, Stardom is owned by Bushiroad. Bushiroad owns New Japan. New Japan have a very strong partnership with AEW. We see these Forbidden Door shows. But at the same time, they also do have a strong partnership with TNA. And if TNA have a partnership with WWE, I mean, who knows? But there's a lot of dominoes involved, and I cannot see
Business at the
WWE.
end of the day.
Yeah, I don't think any company WWE is going to work with is going to be allowed to be anywhere near AEW. I think that's going to be, a hard cut off. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Last year was wild. 2022 was wild. Maybe 2024 will be even wilder. But what about you, Carter? How are you feeling about this situation? And do you think that this deal would be possible?
So I have a lot of points to make in a short time. So you mentioned Ring of Honor. We got to bring this up at some point on Thursday. CZW versus Ring of Honor. That was one of the greatest intra-promotional rivalries of all time. Jim Cornette, the real one, he lost a tooth. He absolutely hated those guys. He used to call on the IWA Mid-South shows to get them canceled in Kentucky. He legitimately hated these people. I don't think the wrestling industry is as divided as it used to be, which is kind of unfortunate. My candidates for WWE is CMLL and NOAH, and then you can give NJPW and AAA to AEW. But I think part of the issue is WWE is very insular. Sorry, that's kind of a hard word to say right now, but it's very kind of insular. And then while AEW does a really good job of working with other promotions, and to Shad's point, it's kind of an international thing where it offers you maybe a different cultural perspective or something you don't already have. So I think that would be great. But that being said, if WWE buys TNA, I want to see Speedball Mike Bailey dethrone Roman Reigns. That's what I'm asking for. But I mean, also, it's just because everything's combined doesn't necessarily mean it's better too. I saw this debate on MMA Twitter where, and this is going to offend some of my young gym people, but the UFC's right now is not the best MMA has ever been. My personal opinion was Pride. Like, the reason why I was up late watching Ryzen is because guys could soccer kick each other in the heads. You can't do that in
steroids.
UFC. Yeah, we love steroids. No, sorry.
No, we don't. No, disclaimer.
Why do we want
we
all
don't.
the fighters to be juiced up?
No, I mean, Japanese MMA is more entertaining than American MMA because the rule sets are crazier. And the PFL has the opposite problem. They banned elbows. So you have Chris Cyborg, Muay Thai champion, going over into a league that banned elbows. That's crazy. So I think these, the challenger brands offer something different, and it's the WWE swallowing them up. It can be good because we might see Mike Bailey overthrow Roman Reigns, but it also can be bad because you might lose some of the shine and the intra-promotional rivalries. I don't think you're going to see Ring of Honor versus CZW while Tony Khan owns it.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, what I've taken from that is everybody should be divided and hate each other, guys. Come on. Let's hate each other. And let's start by going on a rant about AEW, Clark, like we always do, like we do every week on this show, because we need to talk about the Continental Classic Championship, the Triple Crown, whatever you want to call it. The names are getting a little confusing here. But Eddie Kingston will be making his first defense of that championship on this week's AEW Collision tomorrow night against Trent Beretta. And my question is why? Already now you've made this title feel like a mid-card by randomly announcing a mid-card title, by randomly announcing a match instead of, really building up a challenge, having a number one contenders bout. Whatever, so that's great. We now have 3 mid-card championships in the men's division in AEW. They should have done the brand split idea that I said. And it's just all going I need to stop being so optimistic. Clark, your thoughts?
I strongly disagree. I love this booking. Trent Beretta is as well traveled as any wrestler on earth. We've talked about a number of promotions. He's wrestled in most of them and successfully and well. Not only that, we're fresh off the heels of Wrestle Kingdom. There was New Japan stuff involved in the 3 titles that Eddie Kingston's carrying, right?
Yeah.
Trent not being involved in Wrestle Kingdom is a guy that it has a great history in New Japan for sure. Not a non-issue to me, but he is available to wrestle against Eddie Kingston in what is an exciting title match. Do I know for a fact that Eddie's going to go over? For sure. Do I care? Not really. This one isn't the same random booking that we could complain about on AEW in my eyes, because it's a great way to continue the momentum as far as Eddie Kingston finally getting over the mountain and accomplishing something that he never thought he could. It's a part of Eddie's story. So for him to be a fighting champion represents everything that the Eddie Kingston character represents. That's who he is. He's going to put the belt on the line every week if he has to.
So what's the difference then between that and the TNT and International?
I understand that they are different and comparisons are easy to make where you go, oh, okay, why do you book this way, that way? I think given the guys involved, this is different. This is about Eddie Kingston. Trent being on the other side of it, while I hear where you're coming from on, it's random, they're going to put on an outstanding match. Trent can work. Trent is, to me, one of the most underrated wrestlers on any roster in the world. Trent Beretta is dang good. Putting a question mark next to his name as a comedy thing was fun, but if that devalued him in any way, that was wrong. That's the one thing I would point to, because Trent Beretta can go.
Oh,
every single time he's out there. So this is going to be an awesome match. This is going to show you the fighting champion Eddie is. I imagine we either get a promo on the back end of it or on the front end of it that sets up the rivalry challenger that we see later. But I imagine Eddie Kingston continuing to defend this title, whether it be finger quotes, random opponents or not, along the way as the next rivalry for this championship builds. I think that's the route you go anyway. And Eddie can always cut a promo. And it would be great to see him go. But Eddie is not also the type to go out there with the belt and go, oh, thank you so much. I finally did it. Maybe real life Eddie, because we all know how much we love Eddie Kingston, right? But inside of kayfabe, Eddie Kingston goes out there and goes, I wanted to put it on the line.
That's why did they announce it ahead of time?
Because he was ready. I would imagine, and by the way, this is where imagination comes into play. If we're inside of the kayfabe world, Eddie Kingston went into Tony's office and said, give me a match.
Well, show it on TV. Show it on live TV.
I agree with you there. I don't necessarily think you have to, because I think this match is more of a testament to what Eddie has accomplished over the last 4 years since he was introduced to the AEW audience. It's AEW's way of giving Eddie the moment he deserves. And we will see a promo on the front or back end of this match that leads to whoever the next true rival is for that title, which we will see paid off in the future. I do still believe, though, that Eddie will wrestle matches along the way.
Yeah,
I don't see why he wouldn't.
That's a fair point, it does. I get what you're saying. I do. Just to be clear, I was not, having got Trent Beretta being the challenger at all. It's just they haven't built it up, right?
No,
I think you want to make this feel like an important title. I understand Eddie's a fighting champion, but if you want to make it feel like an important title, if you want to make it feel different to the TNT and International, then you got to make it feel more important. I mean, the other ones are doing random defenses all the time. So to make it feel different, that's the most obvious way. World titles aren't defended as often, right? That would be the easiest way to do that. But I bet we'll discuss this on Sunday's show, absolutely. But now let's move on and let's talk about SmackDown, because we've had a tournament the last few weeks, the United States Championship Tournament, to find Logan Paul's next challenger, and it concludes tonight. Santos Escobar versus Kevin Owens. Shad, who will win it?
Who's going to win it? The man who has one of the best television shows in WWE, Kevin Owens, man. I think this is Kevin Owens' match to lose. I don't see a space where we have two heels going against each other, it wouldn't make sense a whole lot. There probably will be some craziness that may occur on the outside with the new LWO and Santos, and maybe not the new LWO, Legado del Fantasma, and the
Yeah.
old LWO or the current LWO. These factions are confusing me, man.
They
But
are.
no, but I think the way to go is Kevin Owens, because I think Kevin Owens is the premier opponent for someone like Logan Paul to go against in a title defense. Kevin Owens is a person that works very well versus anybody. He's like a chameleon. He can make any feud feel very important. And I think his personality, him being a very over babyface at the moment, kind of having that, I don't really care personality and going against what is completely opposite of what he views as a professional wrestler in Logan Paul. I think it makes the best story. And I'm hoping Royal Rumble that Kevin Owens gets his comeuppance, because I think he deserves to get that USA title back around his waist. I think he's done tremendous work last year. We saw the beautiful moment that they had in the tag team match. I think this is a guy that needs to bring the USA title back with a lot of legitimacy. He's a person that can kind of feud with a lot of young up and coming heels that they have on the roster. So I think the move is for KO to win the night and go against Logan and dethrone Logan Paul. I said Logan
Uh,
Reigns.
We're so used to talking about Reigns defending it, but I agree with everything you said apart from the dethroning part, because I think that is going to be the job of a guy we'll talk about later on in the show. But now let's talk about the women's division. Over on Friday nights tonight, Io Sky will be defending her SmackDown Women's Championship, the WWE Undisputed Women's Championship, or whatever it is they call it now. In fact, Undisputed isn't in the name, but it's on the title belt. It's all confusing. I was just complaining about title belts in AEW. Let's fix the naming in WWE, please. But tonight, of course, you'll be defending against Michin, who, of course, hasn't, had the best of luck lately, especially since AJ Styles has turned on the OC. But Carter, tonight, Women's Championship match, Io Sky, Michin. Could we see a shock result?
I don't think so, Ben. I think this is going to be a fun match. I mean, Io Sky is, I'll say it, she's an elite women's wrestler. She's come from elite cloth over in Japan, and she's amazing. And I love the fact that WWE chose her to be the women's champion. That being said, Mia Yim, so I got a fun fact over here on my second screen. She recently pinned Sky in an 8-woman tag team match. I do not think, however, she will dethrone her, but I think this is a very solid challenger. It's solid to bring Michin back into the spotlight, but like really not a lot of build up here. So it'd be kind of crazy. I don't think Tony Khan's running things back there. So I do think the title stays in the current hands right now. And Cardi Cornette will be very pleased at the lack of indie-rific speed booking.
Oh, I loved that dig in there. I absolutely loved it. But you are right. It almost, on the surface level, does feel a bit like the booking of the women's AW division, where this kind of has just felt a little bit rushed. Obviously, she got the pin on her. And I mean, I guess to play devil's advocate, you could say, well, they had a couple of week break on SmackDown because of Christmas and all of that. But still, hopefully, there's a bigger storyline here, and they aren't just taking inspiration from the booking of the AEW women's division now, because be sure I will complain about this too. There's no bias. I will say it how it is. But now let's move on and let's talk about the tribal chief, the head of the table, the undisputed universal champion of the world, Roman Reigns, because tonight we will find out his challenger for the Royal Rumble when LA Knight, will be taking on AJ Styles and Randy Orton in a triple threat match that I've practically been dreaming about. This I'm excited for. And there's a case for any three of these guys to win. There really, really is. It's quite unpredictable. I mean, I really don't know for certain which way it's going to go. I'm kind of slightly closer right now to Randy Orton purely because I have a feeling we might get Styles versus Knight. But at the same time, I feel like the plan for Mania is Logan Paul versus LA Knight. And Styles has just turned heel, so surely he's going to win his first feud as a heel. So then surely he wouldn't beat LA Knight for then LA Knight to go on and get a United States Championship match. It's all a little bit confusing, to be honest with you, how, we go from here, and because there's so many moving parts, a lot of things could happen. But Carter, what is it you think will happen?
I'm gonna go with Randy. Just cause the question is Randy here to stay, or is he here? Is he here for a long time, or is he here for a good time? I think Randy's here for a good time, and I think he's gonna take it. That being said, we just took a little dig at Tony Khan. This is a great match. This is an example of dream. This is good booking right here. These are three rock solid guys. You can see any of them. I'll say this as a indie guy. I could see Styles dethroning Roman Reigns. I really could. They're all fantastic. I think Orton's going to get the nod. Do I think Orton's going to take the belt off of Roman? No, but Orton looks great. He's been in the gym. He's been eating good. He's thick. He's strong. I think Roman via RKO, and then I think you're right, Ben. There's going to be a feud between Styles and Knight, and that one is going to be delicious. We're going to be eating it up.
Yes, absolutely we will be. And you just mentioned, Stars, Reigns, I'd love to see that. LA Knight Reigns again, I'd love to see that. Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, I'd love to see that. This is why when I said, a couple weeks ago that, I'm absolutely certain Reigns is going to hold the title until later this year / early next year. And people were like, oh, it's all, it's all coming to the, it's all coming to the end. It's all becoming, a mess. There's nobody left for him to face. I'm like, yeah, there is. There absolutely is. There's so many guys for him to face. The issue is he's not there enough to face them. And if they are going to keep him as champion for another year, he does need to show up a little bit more, right? I know he's not going to be there every week, and that's part of his attraction too. That is a good thing. But they do need to do a few more than, one non-bloodline title defense in a calendar year. But we do have we got a lovely comment here from Blake Richards on Instagram saying that he's a fan of our page, shouting us out. Shout out to you too, Blake. We really appreciate that comment, and I also appreciate this comment by Bobby Batito saying that he'd love to see Randy Orton win in this triple threat match. But what about you, Shad? Who would you love to see win this number one contendership match tonight?
Oh man, I can't even play devil's advocate. I think the winner has to be Randy Orton tonight. You brought him back after being out for as long as he is, and I feel that Randy Orton has the most captivating storyline, and Randy Orton is the most captivating superstar out of the three. That's no knock on AJ Styles. He's a legend himself, and LA Knight is a transcending superstar that was made last year and that will continue to be in the WWE. But when we're talking about Royal Rumble season, we're talking about the get back that Randy's trying to get with the entire bloodline, which includes the tribal chief. That story is the one that has my most interest. That's a main event type of match on a Royal Rumble that's going to put butts in seats. I mean, it's the most compelling one out of all of them. And it's something that Randy Orton deserves. I mean, I feel we kind of lost touch of how much of a legend, like the legend killer is now a legend. And it's crazy to think that because it makes me feel very old because I remember watching him as a young kid and now he is an old man and I'm an old man. But it's the truth of it, man. He's turned into a legend. He's put a lot of groundwork in this business, and we were, robbed time, unfortunately, away from him due to injury. And the last time we saw him, he was part of a tag team, which, in my opinion, was a fun little storyline, a fun little group, but it wasn't the Randy Orton that I grew up loving and enjoying. So we're getting back to that now. He's back on his grizzly man. He's looking like a beast. The dude is super yoked right now. And I know Roman Reigns may beat him and he may put, his title reign extended, but yeah, he's got to have compelling competition throughout the process. with this reign, and that's Randy, man. And if anybody out of these three makes you think in the back of your mind, he might be able to take it with them three deadliest letters, it is Mr. RKO. So I got
Yes.
Randy Orton winning tonight. I think it's going to be a banger of a match. All three guys are great. AJ Styles is the one with the best in-ring wrestlers of all time. Care what anybody says, and I'm excited for it.
And AJ Styles, I mean, he was the one who, you know, got me back, well, one of the ones who got me back into wrestling, and one of the biggest reason why I started the Instagram page, which is now known as Wrestling Republic. So we always have to shout out Mr. Styles. Absolutely, but Clark, what about you? Triple threat tonight, SmackDown, presumably the main event, but who will be the one going to the main event of the Royal Rumble?
Okay, so I'm going to start by saying that my pick is Randy Orton. And
Okay.
I want all of you guys to write that down, because after I say this, I want you to remember that I said that.
Okay.
But what if we did a non-finish? Hear me out. Hear me out.
Okay.
Roman Reigns has overcome a number of obstacles.
Yes.
A lot of them, including an iconic triple threat match merely 2 years ago at WrestleMania 38.
I see where this is going.
Why not 4? When's the last time Roman Reigns had to put the title on the line where he didn't have to be pinned to lose it? Either way, whether it's Solo and Jimmy going rogue and it's a non-finish and it muddies the waters and Nick Aldis comes down and tells you, guess what? Now you got to face all three, that you ruined it, Roman. You made the wrong phone call this time. Called in the wrong choice. Sorry, buddy, but you've got all 4. It sets up for Nick and Roman in the future. We have an iconic match between the 4 at the Royal Rumble. I have no problem with it. It makes the Royal Rumble interesting in some ways, because unfortunately you do take 3 legit Rumble challengers out of the Rumble. Unless you have the one you want to be a major factor come back after already wrestling in a fatal 4-way against Roman Reigns for the title and join the Rumble. That pop is equally as big. Limping out, whether it's taped ribs, a taped shoulder, tape it up, whatever it is. You can put over a babyface by having them join the Rumble after this 4-way match. The 4-way match goes off without a hitch, whether Roman wins or not. You still have Cody and you still have Rock as choices at the Rumble. I think all 4 can be in the match, and I do think there's an avenue where this is an outstanding triple threat match, and we don't look at it as like, oh, shoot, a non-finish. It's like, oh, great. Now we've got the same amount of unpredictability you have almost in a 30-man Rumble in the title main event with Roman Reigns. Anyone can win it. And no matter how you book that match, there are so many new avenues and storylines that have already been teased and hinted at. You can go from there on. That I actually, as much as I was afraid when I started this that, you know, Ben and my esteemed co-hosts here would be like, no, but I do believe that it's a fun way to go about this, because
you've given me an idea.
Yes,
you really
I gotta
have,
hear
right?
it.
Because what if tonight they do exactly what you said? It's a DQ leads to a fatal 4-way at the Royal Rumble, but then what if at the Royal Rumble, and I don't think it's going to happen, but what if one of them did win the title by not pinning Roman, and therefore Roman Reigns versus The Rock cannot be for the title like all the fans want? I don't think they should do that, but all the fans want it to not be for the title. Bang, got the title off Roman without him looking weak heading into that feud.
It's for that seat at the end of the table, whatever they call it, right? The one at the
head.
I think they call it the head of the table. Yeah, that's the one. It's not on the sides. It's right at the.
No, it's not at the bar.
Yeah, what you gotta have a square table. It's tough to be the head of the table of a rectangular table. It's tough to be the head of the table of a square table.
I went to dinner last night and I set up the head of the table and I said, "Oh, I'm feeling like the tribal chief," and nobody understood the joke. But no, I think it's a great idea.
Well, and I also, by the way, the iconic contract signing segment where they bring out a completely square table and Roman Reigns doesn't know where to sit. As all 4 have to sign the contract. I mean,
a round table.
There is no head. It's not rectangular. It's perfectly square. All the seats are equal.
Or even round. Just get a round one. Like, there you are.
Round table.
And he's just moving the chair. Trying to be like, where does the head look like? I don't know.
I don't know which spot to sit in.
That is cold, but thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We had quite a lot of comments. Thank you guys so much. I wish I could read them all, but we really appreciate you watching. If you did enjoy, please like and subscribe on YouTube, on Instagram, give us a follow. Spotify, a cheeky 5-star makes my week. Twitch, all the other platforms, please guys, your support means the world to us. Thank you to Clark, thank you to Shad, and thank you to Carter for joining me here today. It's been a blast, guys, and we will see you tomorrow night to break down SmackDown. But thank you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.